Well, if I was half as smart as I say I am, I'd just sit down right now.
Sermon's over.
Sermon, I mean, how many of your problems will be solved if you actually believe that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That you're actually loved, that doesn't really matter.
That's not.
Okay, Isaiah 28:10,
Yes.
which is, oh, see, I don't have it with me.
There.
For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here a little and there a little. Let us pray. Dear loving Father, we're thankful for this opportunity to be in your house. We're thankful for the word you've given us over these so many years. Lord, please be with us this morning, guide us and direct us. Let us learn what you would have us to learn. In Jesus' name we ask, amen. So we figured out the New Testament instead. We've been less work. Line upon line, precept upon precept. Any of you people who listen to Calvary Radio will hear this over and over. Very simple though. Oh, it should be simple. Learn a little bit every day, learn the concept, learn a line, and pretty soon you'll be a master builder. Sound simple enough? And unfortunately, it has not worked for me this week. I've been confused this week. Okay, this month, this year, whatever. I'm bad with time. And actually, I should back up and say, normally if I'm asked to preach, it's pretty simple. You pray a little, get an idea, look up the verse that supports your idea, steal somebody else's work, preach it, and you're done. I mean, it ain't that hard. I mean, it really ain't, right? I mean, let's be simple. And if I was smart, I would stay with like the Ten Commandments. Because there's some responsibility up here. I mean, how horrible if I say something stupid and lose somebody's salvation. There's pressure on this. I can lead people astray. How horrible would that be? And I'll be honest, I'm more tired I'm done preaching than I am if I worked all day. And this, I hate public speaking. I can't think of too many things worse. Like, okay, I can't. But anyway, so here we got, and I could have chosen a multitude of subjects today, but we're going to go right for the throat and talk about marijuana. I will be honest, this year, things have happened I've never even considered. I never thought we would have to vote on marijuana. I never thought gay marriage would happen in my lifetime. I never thought I knew what bathroom to use. I mean, I never even seen that coming. Why should I use the men's bathroom? Because mom said so. Okay, that's not the best reason I got. I never thought about this stuff. And usually if you want to be smart on a subject, the best way to be smart on a subject is think about it for a decade, contemplate it. When you see something about it, read about it, think about it. But this has happened way too quickly for me. It's just going at light speed. And like I said, I never even dreamed I would have to think about it. I mean, marijuana was simple. It's illegal and in the subject. Right? I mean, but now they want me to think and give me a few months to do it? Well, gee, blah humbug. Anyway, this mission is almost more about how you go about this line of reasoning than it is marijuana itself. First thing a Christian should have is a worldview. Makes everything so much easier. If you can decide to yourself all the big questions, what are you here? What is your job? And if you look, a lot of people with more education will make these great big long belief statements, and it's all complicated and written in Hebrew and English, and I'm too simple for that. I got like a dozen rules that I try to live by. Now they're not canon, but they kind of direct me when people ask me questions. And what I say all the time, there is a God and you're not a God. That helps me so greatly. It's not my responsibility. It ain't my job to get revenge. It ain't my job to do this or that. There's a God. He made the rules. He said what the punishments are, what the rewards are. It's simple. Second one I use next is God made everything complete. If there's an up, there's a down. If there's a left, there's a right. If there's a truth, there's lie. And this comes, so now I can answer questions really quick. Are there evil spirits? Well, there's angels. Yes, there's evil spirits. Don't need scripture. Don't need anything. I already determined that there it goes. Trust me, I work this way. I really do. And there's some, I got some other silly ones I go along with. It's better to be quiet and be thoughtful than open your mouth and move all down. That's kind of useful. I should have done one more often. Another one I like to live by, and this one always gets people because I stole this from an atheist. People will die. Let them. It's like, what? And that works on so many levels. First one, you're not going to get out of this life alive, okay? You're going to die. Mom and dad are going to die. Grandparents are going to die. Great-great-great-grandparents. Puppy dogs, cats, goldfish. Okay? It's just part of this world. Just accept it now. And the second one is seatbelts, hard hats, helmets on motorcycles, rock climbing, swimming in the ocean with sharks. I mean, I don't think you can live on your couch where it's safe. I don't think there's nothing wrong with swimming in the ocean and tempting that shark to come and bite you, if that's what you want to do. Once in a while it's going to kill you, so be it. Fast cars, once in a while it's going to get you. And right now, life has a expiration date. It has some warranty issues with it. Just go with it. Okay, anyways, marijuana. It's going to come up. Prop 1 in this state of Nevada. We're going to have to vote on it. Well, I guess we don't have to. We are going to vote on it, and the decision's going to be made. Like I said before, we always hid behind it's illegal in the conversation. I think that's a valid argument. I grew up in public schools. Another one is drugs are for losers.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can separate myself from that. That's just been pounded into me over and over and over again. But if we're going to be brave enough to look at, the Trinity and communion and all that stuff, let's go for something simple, marijuana. Let's start with, we got a worldview. Let's start with, where are we now? It's 2016, where are we now, marijuana in the state of Nevada, or in America? Right now, basically, medical marijuana is okay.
In 23 states.
And without the doctor's card, it's not okay, legally speaking, so far. We got Colorado, Oregon, Washington, I believe Alaska. But here, we're going to talk about Nevada. Now, in the old days, you had to go to the library and get big books and commentaries and look things up. Nowadays, I got YouTube.
Yep.
I have done more research on this than I have for anything in such a short amount of time. The conclusion is, no, not conclusion, the consensus is 99% of Christians don't have a problem with medical marijuana. The doctor says so, it's all right. I got a problem with that line of reasoning. I think they're wrong. My worldview, and what I know of the Bible, it's a horrible logic content. So you're telling me that a man who goes to school for 16 years, takes an oath to a Greek philosopher, who wears a pin with a stick and a snake or two on it, that's what makes something okay with God? I know it's not true, but I am such a black and white person. It's either good or it's not. It's either right or it's sin. I have not read anywhere in the Bible where it says, thou shalt not commit adultery unless the high priest Aaron gives you a penance for it. Is there any right or wrong that you all, because you guys are smarter than I am, have read in the Bible where something's okay if a atheist, heathen tells you it's okay? Is there anything that's wrong unless you get it okay from somebody who's educated? Because the government can give you some permissions. Thou shalt not murder, pretty straightforward. I should stick with subjects like that. I could probably preach that correctly. The government, I believe, has the right to give bounty hunters the right to go chase you down and bring you back. And if you die in that process, want to dead or alive, Okay, I believe that's within the government's preview. But for the most part, you cannot give permission, oh, yes, yes.
There is, all authority under heaven is given by God, and this being a legally regulated thing, and now they're just simply changing the law and the regulation.
That would be helpful. I agree with that. Like I said, that only goes back to my concept of it's wrong because of the law. I never had to think any farther. Right? So now, like, okay, you're right. I believe the government has the right to okay certain items, but I don't think that makes it right. Government says it's illegal for abortion. I don't think that makes it right. Some things, in my mind, are right or wrong, irregardless of what the law says. And I believe you can take something as benign as thou shalt not speed, and they can make that illegal, and therefore it'd be wrong to break the law. I'll grant you that line of logic, but I don't think speeding in and of itself, therefore, is a moral sin. Sin is breaking authority under God. Yes, sir.
But the whole reason it was made illegal was for profit.
I will get there. I will get there. But I was working on the concept of something is not morally correct because the doctor says so. Something's not morally correct because Uncle
That's right.
Sam
You're right.
says so.
You're right.
Would marijuana have any redeeming qualities? If I had a chalkboard up here, and we go through simple stuff. I know two things. I think it takes care of pain, and it'll make you eat food. If you need to gain weight, that would work. I don't know what it is with glaucoma, but I always hear people.
It cures it.
Okay, it cures glaucoma. I'll go along with that. Yes.
It kills brain cancer cells.
I read that. So let's back up. So I think at this point, we can say marijuana would have some medicinal medical qualities, much like aspirin from an aspen tree, much like all the other chemicals we have. Therefore, if that's a true statement, if it has redeeming value as a medicine, now there's only one question to ask. Can it be abused? What can't be abused? Simple. Okay, now we got problems. We have determined that it has medical reasoning and it can't be abused. Yes?
Plenty of people get prescriptions to opiate painkillers like Vicodin and Percocet and all those others, Oxycontin from their doctor,
Yep.
and those get abused. like crazy.
And some of those are man-made and some are God-made. I don't know how to use God-made. I have a hard time saying man-made, so I always think of the old saying where God made man out of dirt, and the devil goes, I can do that too. And God goes, no, get your own dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the chemist can make synthetic whatevers, but he starts out with something that's already made. So here, this is great. We're already come to a conclusion that it has medical purpose would be okay, and if abuse it is not wrong. And we haven't even opened the Bible up yet. This is all from your worldview. You should be able to answer these questions like that now because you have a worldview. Historically speaking, as Lee said, the oldest reference for cannabis, marijuana, is actually some writings, in the Chinese have writings, and that guy from Samaria, which always has the oldest writings.
Hammurabi.
Hammurabi. The one that has building inspecting laws and tax records, blah, blah, blah.
Hammurabi. I love him.
So now we have the problem that marijuana existed for the Old Testament and throughout history. Moving fast forward to America, because we all know history starts in America. There's no history prior to 1620 and St. James Place, right? Yes, Lee?
As a part of American history, it was required by all landholders to grow a significant portion of their crops each year in hemp, which
Of the
is
13 colonies, the 4 that belonged to England were required to grow it. England would always accept tax money paid in hemp. Moving up, hemp took a nosedive at the Civil War. Up until then, America exported hemp rope right and left. You get rid of slavery, and all of a sudden it's no longer economical to export hemp rope. It was basically from the Civil War up until the 30s, it was kept around in America for, if you wanted the best rope ever, you buy American hemp rope. 1930s, some fool created basically the cotton gin for hemp. 1930s, William Randolph Hearst and his buddy Dow decided that marijuana is not good. Now, whether it's economic reasons for Dow's point of view or because Mr. Randolph Hearst wanted to sell newspapers is open to debate. And for those of you who are not older than dirt, Randolph Hearst at one time owned basically 9 out of 10 newspapers in America.
Another player in that conglomeration was DuPont.
DuPont, Dow DuPont, which actually merged later in history. And he wanted the drugs, Hearst wanted to sell newspapers. To get down to it, Randolph Hearst basically invented the Spanish-American War. There was no proof that the Maine blew up in Cuba from enemy attack. In that day and age, coal machines had a tendency of blowing up all by themselves. But, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. He's related to Randolph Hearst.
Mm-hmm.
He created a movie that was basically Reefer Madness,
It's hilarious.
who said, and basically, it's hilarious until you realize what it was selling. It was 2 concepts. A, if you're a male, you will smoke marijuana and commit suicide. If you're a white female, you will smoke marijuana and have sex with black men. Therefore, it's got to be bad. He coined the term marijuana. Up until then, it was always cannabis for the Latin name, and/or hemp was what the farmers knew about it. But it was decided that he could not convince American people to do away with cannabis or hemp, so we had to create the word marijuana. And it was basically illegal from the 30s up until a few years ago here in America. And that part is pretty much history, that part is undeniable. But guess what? That's irrelevant to our cause. It really is. It doesn't matter, in my mind, back in my worldview, it's right or it's wrong. A bunch of white guys in Washington, D.C. is not going to tell me what God said is right and wrong. I don't think that's their job. That's their preview. I still don't believe gay sex or gay marriage and abortion and everything else they decided is fine. So, do me a favor. Let's turn to the scriptures referring to marijuana.
Genesis.
Closest you can honestly get would be Genesis. Let every herb in the field.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, there's some problems with that. Hemlock is a herb in the field. Good luck in taking that. There are poisons and nonsense. At least with tobacco, we could argue tobacco's not in the Bible because it didn't exist. Tobacco being native to North America, South America. But marijuana, we got a problem. It does exist. There's no scripture to turn to. Now what do we do? Now we're up the creek without a paddle. And there's 2 lines of thought on this one. One is, let's find something similar. And I'm still thinking about this one. Because if it doesn't mention it, are we adding now? Is going a similar route something we can honestly do? I don't think we have any choice, but the other choice is it's not mentioned, let's run. End of story, it's amoral. I can sit down now, sermon over. Can't do that, it's too early. So let's do what everybody else does in the churches and let's compare it to alcohol. I don't know if that's a fair comparison. But let's run with it. My 3 favorite commentaries, they're not commentaries no more because I've got YouTube. I like Mark Driscoll. Man had some problems in his life. Pastor from Seattle. The only one on the list that's under the age of 500 years old. The only man on the list actually knows what a computer is and knows how to use it. I don't agree with him all the time, probably not even close. He's probably a good C student, but I go with him when he's trying to talk to somebody younger than me. This is moving so fast. Gay marriage. If you're over the age of 50, 90% of you say no. If you're under the age of 30, 90% of you say yes. We've always said, oh, those kids don't understand, but that gulf is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Miss Hillary Clinton, I wiped my hard drive with what, a wet cloth?
Yeah.
A, she's 2, but B, we got an age difference. Either way, it's frightening. either way, it's interesting. Okay, so I go on YouTube, hit in Mark Driscoll, an opinion on whatever. Another gentleman I like is Dr. Timothy Keller from New York. Now he's up being used a lot of big words, and you can't go his question and answers, because he doesn't answer questions well at all. In a sermon, he's almost a politician, he's too smart for his own good. And he just babbles on and on. I mean, he's like, can I smoke marijuana? I want a yes, no answer. I don't need a 20-minute diatribe on how we get there. But his sermon, I love his sermons. He can keep me interested. It's just hard, very hard to do. And the last one of my trinity here, because there's three of them, what they have to put it out there. John Piper, he seems to be very level-headed. And actually, all three of these guys agree, but I don't know if they're really relevant. Okay, let's go with alcohol. What does the Bible say about alcohol?
Moderation.
Moderation.
Don't be an alcoholic.
Strong drink.
Don't drink strong drink.
Don't get drunk.
Don't get drunk. Are there any positive aspects for the Bible for alcohol?
Celebration.
We got to use for medicinal purposes. And you know, and if you actually put this stuff into YouTube or into Google, it's surprising how many Christians still don't believe in alcohol. And the way they dance through some of these scriptures is like,
How did they do the wedding in Canaan?
it was an alcoholic, obviously.
It's grape juice.
It was grape juice.
I'm sorry.
You know how I read one where the priests weren't allowed to drink wine, therefore Jesus didn't drink wine. And I'm sitting there going, the first part of that verse that says the priests don't drink wine was Aaron. And the priests don't drink wine. As in the Aaronic priesthood.
Yeah,
Jesus ain't on the Aaronic priesthood.
but that was only a restriction for certain times and seasons, not
In
for
certain
all of life.
places. Anyway, so I think we can prove alcohol as medicine, Timothy stuff.
Yes.
So I can lean now towards some Bible reference for marijuana, doctor use, municipal use, whatever. Seems to be some scripture now instead of my worldview. I got something I can at least hold in my hand maybe. Any other positives?
It pleases the heart of God and man.
Get out of here.
I heard it from you first.
Wine makes merry.
Ecclesiastes and Psalms, basically those are married. Yep, you're right. There is time for celebration. And there's one that nobody wants to look at. Proverbs in wine. Give wine to who?
Poor.
The first half of the one is time. Would maybe be municipal once again. The second half of those is he that is grievous in heart, and let the poor drink, remember the poverty no more. Now, how is that not a contradiction to getting drunk? I wonder how much of these rules and regulations is a great big overlook of your life. You should not be grumpy. Doesn't say you'll never be mad. You should be happy. It doesn't say you will never be sad. There are, let's turn into all a bunch of hippies and let's go to Ecclesiastes, turn. There's a time for dancing, a time for sad, time for happy, and a time for mad, or blah, blah, blah. And that's a big problem when it comes to preaching, because it's very hard to point to something and say no. There is a time to be mad and sin not. There is a place for righteous indignation. No. And there is a place for que sera, sera. It will be what it will be. Don't bug me. I'm busy. I'm praising God. I gotta die when I hit 70. Let's move on. But you take these verses, and now where are we? We're not really any closer to an answer. And how can we have such a power not be close to an answer? And when I started this sermon, I knew I didn't have a finish to it. I was hoping I'd get one. And this sermon has bugged me to no end, let me tell you. I've got a nightmare on this sermon.
I'm so sorry.
I don't dream. Okay, I'll dream, you know, I have a little time a year, and I assume I sleep 365 days a year. I dreamt that I was giving a sermon, and I decided that I could wear sweats. Oh yeah, black sweats, that's the same as black pants. And everybody who was dead, with the exception of my parents, was there. Companies that were dead to me are here for this stupid sermon. And I'm holding out my sweats with one hand. Never got to give it because I woke up before it was my turn, but it was all chaos. I mean, it was like, okay, great, huh? Wonderful. I don't have my notes because I worship them. And I never lose notes on that. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. If I lost my notes, I have nightmares, and I got no ending to the sermon, so I'm doing fine. I don't see any problem at all with this. Back to the worldview. Can we determine it's okay for medicine?
Yes.
Even if some quack who takes a pledge to God Olympus and wears a little snake on his little pal. Leaves us with the vote come November. Let's go back to history. Women got the right to vote in this country at the federal level when?
In the 20s?
1920s. I forgot what amendment it was. Women's temperance movement. What's the first thing women did?
Outlaw alcohol.
Outlawed alcohol. How many people did that save?
None.
I believe you're an alcoholic if you drink or not. It ain't the actions, it's your heart, right? Jesus says, if you look upon a woman with lust, you're already sinned. Right? If you plot about your neighbor's cow or car, what year it is, you're already guilty of it, right? It's your heart. So if you're alcoholic on Sunday and all the alcohol's gone on Monday, I think you still got a defective heart. Prohibition, outlawed alcohol, worked great for this country, right?
No.
What's the one positive prohibition gave us? Good.
Elliot Ness?
Elliot Ness. I don't know, shooting people down without trial, I was so afraid about that.
I know.
It was somewhat of a disaster. What if the women who got the vote decided to go some other way with it? Besides the physical, they went to the spiritual. Could they have done something better? Certainly speaking, probably. It didn't work out. You got, 9 years of Al Capone and no law, no government. Complete troublesome. So what if I propose, what if that is the answer? What if the answer to Christianity is not some of the small stuff, which seems awfully darn big to me? I mean, I think this marijuana stuff is serious. I mean, I really do, and I don't know how much of that is just because of the simple public education and dare program and everything else I went to. It goes back to people are going to die. Let's be darn serious about this. You legalize marijuana, there's going to be at least a few more DUIs, driving under the influence deaths. That's all there is to it. The overall big picture, give me a crystal ball and I can tell that, I'd have a different job. It might. It might make less crime, might make less people locked up, might be less taxes going to people in prison. I mean, what even are the stats now? How many people are in prison because of illegal drugs? 80%? 90?
Yeah.
Around 80%.
I mean, there's two types of people who get caught. There are people selling drugs. Okay, three people. People robbing to buy drugs, and crimes of passion. Going home, killing your spouse. Okay, those are the three people. Nobody else gets caught in America. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Nobody steals cars unless they want drug money, which is just weird. If you do away with all of that, what would society look like? I don't know. Don't know if it matters. Don't know if I care that much. Except for I am worried about all going downhill. But anyway, back to the point. What if this stuff comes later to an individual and not a congregational attitude? What if Christianity is a lifestyle to change people's lives, to heal the family, to heal your heart, to put you on the right track, and some things simply fall in line? Because on one hand, you have to argue, gee, outlawing alcohol makes sense on paper. Communism makes sense on paper. But maybe the reality is that it really ain't what it's all about. Maybe we're called for a direction. We're called to walk the thin, straight, and narrow way. When it deals with people and our attitudes, what we're saved from and what we're like before, and all that other stuff that we accept, that we have scriptures and verses for. Because then it bugs me to know when there's no verse here I can turn to. I should have stayed with thou shalt not kill. Hey, I can figure that one out. I got verses for that. I can tell you capital punishment is okay, killing your neighbor is wrong. Hey, sign me up. But I can't find a biblical answer that I'm happy with this. I can go all day long and argue both sides. I can tell you that hey, it's a dumb idea. We can turn to Romans, where it says all things are lawful, but not all things are profitable. And I never heard it be preached that. If that's true, all things are lawful, then taking marijuana is lawful. It is not a sin. It says all things are lawful. And I would argue wholeheartedly it's not profitable. Oh, that doesn't leave us anywhere, does it? Does that leave us somewhere? Is that a conclusion? Maybe just leave it like, I don't know. You answer the question. You're the fool. You asked it.
No, it's just that the ancients, when they used marijuana, didn't use it to get high. They used it to balance the body. And that's what we do in medical marijuana. We use it to balance the body.
And I've solved that problem. I agree. Medical marijuana, without the doctor, because I don't need a quack.
I agree. He costs way too much.
But it makes it so much easier. I mean, it is nice to have a second opinion. But the other end, the recreational use of it, see, that's where it's like, maybe it is civil's common sense. Because, DUI 100 years ago was not an issue. There's only 2 cars anyways, right?
Right.
150 years ago, you could be drunk and ride your horse home. It ain't going to crash anybody. The horse knows the way. Carry the sleigh to the wagon and get to the stuff. It's not an issue. You create heavy equipment, a bunch of machines going up and down, and somebody invents dynamite, invents a lot of cars that go faster than 2 miles an hour. DUI could be an issue. It's just simple common sense. So yes, operating heavy equipment while under the influence of fill in the blanks is kind of irrelevant, could be an issue. That might be common sense. Can I use not what goes into the man that defiles him, but what comes out of it? Is that the real issue? Your heart to begin with? Why are you finding something to fill up that God-sized hole? I can see that argument. That makes perfect sense to me. I go along with that. Or, how far can I rightfully go to saying it's wrong or right if the Bible is silent? And I definitely believe there's times and places where right and wrong changes. Like I said, I think being drunk on a horse is not a big issue. You ain't gonna kill nobody. You got the Industrial Revolution, things change. 2,000 years ago, when you're working 8 hours a week just to scrape by a living, I mean, you can't believe the wealth we have compared to 100 years ago. It's just, I was thinking this morning, I don't have one of anything. How many refrigerators do I have? How many bathrooms do I have? How many cars do I have? How many kids do I have? You know what? I got 1 dog. I got a cat, so that makes 2.
I didn't know they came there like that.
No, but do I have 1 refrigerator? I got a refrigerator, freezer, and a freezer. I mean, I only have 1 refrigerator. I got a barbecue. I only have 1 stove. this one. Go pray, do whatever seems right in your own mind. Pre-Abrahamic law, my book. This is from Genesis 1 up into Abraham. Every man did what was right according to his own mind. Unless anybody has an answer, I'm more than willing to.
I'm how to vote on that.
I'm not going to vote for what's right or wrong. That goes against my black and white belief and my worldview. It's either right or it's wrong. There is no democracy in this dictatorship that I belong to.
Okay, but if we vote against it, it's going to make things a lot harder for those of us who use medical marijuana. The expense will continue to be outrageously high, which we need it to be lower. And they're still going to smoke it on the streets whether we pass it or not.
I agree wholeheartedly, but
And it makes it,
how's
it also makes it eligible for those who are on parole without drug violations to use it as medicine.
how's this first statement? I always wanted to say this. What does common sense have to do with Christianity?
Without God, I wouldn't have any.
Good point. Good point. I agree. I think we could take a whiteboard and write pros and cons. I agree with that. I don't think that's scriptural. I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's a sin. I think that's common sense, and we're allowed to use our common sense. But when it comes to common sense, there's a difference of opinion. I don't think one is right and one's necessarily wrong.
No.
Of course, I'm right and everybody else disagrees with me is wrong. I'll grant that. But that is not canon. That is not a whole truth. That goes back to be the best bet. And I agree with it. I think prostitution of that is handled so much better than the other 49 states. But
Absolutely.
the brothels make so much sense to me on a carnal mind. It's there. It's not walking down the street. It's let's use the term, all the pollution's in one location.
Yes.
It's
The garbage
taxed.
has
I mean,
been collected.
there's no way I'm going to say that's biblical. There's no way I'm going to preach that. But common sense, I don't have a problem with. And give you something to show all the relatives who don't believe me anyways. And I agree. I think it could be a common sense issue of going down the good, the bad, and try to figure out whether the extra deaths are worth the convenience. And like I said, that's common sense. I'm not going to preach that from the pulpit. Yeah. Get that in there too. I'm not going to teach common sense from the pulpit. Hashtag that one. Okay. Yeah, so that's the conclusion. Let's go save somebody and not worry about this.
Yeah.
Question, how much should I comment on all this?
Give us the answer. You're old and wise.
I'm old anyway.
You know, I actually love it when Andy goes up and preaches because he's interesting to listen to and he gets you laughing.
That'll be of entertainment.
Okay. Well, I do want to comment on one thing that you mentioned, and that's the prostitution. We need to get rid of all of it, whether it's legal or not.
Yeah.
That's a sin, and it needs to be stopped. But you know what? When we look at the whole picture of right and wrong, sin and righteousness and all that, it's a fact that you cannot have black and white. The Mosaic Law proved that. The Mosaic Law was black and white, and it didn't get the job done. And that's why, under grace, it's of the heart. And if everybody endeavors to do what is right, to treat everybody right, to worship God, treat your neighbors right, and so forth, then we will fulfill all the righteousness that was required under the law and in every dispensation of time we find in the Bible. So it is of the heart, and you're absolutely right. But anyway,
Remember that one too. That's right.
I enjoyed that, and
And no, you did not offend me, by the way.
You
Maybe.
can't
trying.
regulate the human heart.
I
No,
know.
you can't,
Well, see,
you can't legislate morality.
The Constitution's perfect. You can have as many laws as you want, and it ain't going anywhere. Your choice is this, or streetwalkers, like you have in California, which I thought causes more problems than what this
It does, because at least here, men are gonna find it anywhere they want anyway, but at least here it's regulated, they all have their AIDS tests and get their shots and whatnot.
If you don't
I
do-
don't like it,
We could debate this.
But if you don't change the
whatever.
heart, it doesn't
Bottom
matter.
line is, legal
Exactly.
prostitution did not stop street walking. And we've got that just as much here in Nevada as we do in California. So, this, no,
Yeah.
legal prostitution is not the answer.
Yes.
Anyway, what we need to do, we have the scripture for guideline, and we need to read the word of God, and we need to apply it to our lives. And, I'm gonna share something with you this morning as far as marijuana is concerned. When I first was told that Lee was gonna start using it, that she has openly stated, we all know she uses it. I had a problem with that, and I really prayed about it, because a minister of our church using marijuana, that can have a bad connotation where our church is concerned.
Yeah,
You
Mom and I
know
went
what
over
I'm
that for a
saying?
lot.
So it could, but when you get right down to it, she doesn't use it as a social drug. Okay? And you gotta really get down to that, and what she does is really the same thing. I take 4 prescription drugs every day. If I don't, I hurt. And I hurt bad, and in fact, so bad, I don't know if I could survive. Because of my health problems. And God has put things on this earth that I personally believe that everything on this earth was created from God. That's number one.
Worldview.
And I believe that everything that God created is profitable if used correctly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, that's where we're at. Now, we have, within the Christian world, Christian society, there has been rules and guidelines that has come up by various groups and various people, and with all the right intentions. All the right intentions. Give us guidelines to live by, and that's my job and the other ministers in this church. It's our job to give guidelines for Christians to live by and so forth. But sometimes the guidelines cross over the line. Andy mentioned alcohol this morning. The fact is, alcohol is a problem in our society, number one. We find that there's a lot of wrecks out there that kills people every year and so forth because of alcohol. There is homes that is destroyed because of alcohol, and that's the bad side of it. So can you say absolutely no alcohol? And that's a position that many Christians has taken. And so then the word is out. We seen Brother John having a beer with his Mexican dinner, which, by the way, I don't. I like beer, but I don't drink it for the sake of my ministry. I completely abstain, and I do that for the sake of my ministry. I'm willing to sacrifice that. But the fact is, Jesus drank wine, he had alcohol, and so forth, and moderation is the key word, and so forth. And I know a preacher that's got a large church. The last I heard, he had well over 1,000 people in his church, and he drinks wine on a regular basis. I don't know how many people in his church knows that, and I don't think he really cares if they know or not. It's not that he has a rebellious attitude on things. He doesn't. He's really a neat guy, one of the best friends I have. But there's areas, and Andy's good at digging these out. There's areas that how shall I say, that is popular teaching and accepted teaching in a lot of Christian circles that is not really correct. And it comes under the heading, they're not necessarily wrong, but a lot of times they're used in such a way that it's not really consistent with scriptural teaching and so forth. And so I pretty much leave those kind of things alone as I preach, and I try to, in my ministry, I try to teach people about getting saved so they can spend eternity with the Lord and how to live a victorious life. I believe every Christian ought to have a victorious life.
Amen.
I really do. We ought to live in victory. We ought to have joy in our lives. And Jennifer no.
No, I agree, but I think you gotta understand that sometimes there are funerals. Sometimes the day is bad.
Right.
But you know, as overall, you should go ahead with a happy guy, even though you have dark clouds and storms. You know, that life is life. It's not always at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a valley you gotta walk every once in a
I
while.
answered that. I think I know who it is. Talk to him later. So anyway, there's a lot of things that we need to consider, and the thing that we need to consider most of all, when it comes to things like this, is we don't want to do something that's going to be a stumbling block for our brother or for non-believers. And we need to be an example of what a victorious life is about, and live a joyful life, and let our life be an example, especially to non-believers, that they can live a joyous life and can be happy and so forth. And the only way that we're going to find the joy the way that you and I have it is to have Jesus Christ in their life.
Amen.
That's the way it's going to be. So with that, let us all stand this morning.